Globally, up to 1/3 of greenhouse gas emissions comes from our food, how it's produced, how it's transported. The big question when you come into a grocery store like this one, the one I shop in Boston, how do we choose our food more sustainably to cut down on the so-called climate cost of food?
If we're going to talk about climate, we know that plant-based diets are the best thing you can do for the environment. Why? Because they require less fossil fuels to produce. Okay, not to mention, depending on if you're buying organic or not, your fertilizers, pesticides, and all that stuff. What we're going to be filling up our basket is mainly plants, because that's the best thing you can do for the environment. I happen to really, really like kale. This is massive.
That's a lot of kale.
That's a lot of kale. But I happen to be a huge fan of tofu. Look at all these choices. Tofu is basically pressed soybeans, and it is a protein food. It creates 3.5 kilograms of greenhouse gas emissions to produce tofu, compared to 105 kilograms of greenhouse gases for beef.
That's a huge difference.
Yeah, it's more than 30 times. So when people are paying cheap prices for food, it's because they're produced cheaply and they are leading to climate change. So it's like people are eating cheap food at the cost of the environment. So legumes, peas, beans, and lentils are really important for the environment. They actually contribute nitrogen to the soil. That's a good thing. I love these red lentils. They are so fantastic.
I shouldn't be ashamed to be getting veggies out of the frozen foods aisle.
You should be proud. First, really inexpensive. Secondly, very nutritious. Some people think, oh, my local fresh produce is the healthiest, more nutritious. No, that's not true. With a lot of these frozen vegetables, they come to you straight from the farm because they're flash frozen on site. Convenience is important here in the US, so you want to get your box of lettuce, go ahead. You know, and hydroponics, no fertilizers, no pesticides. Right? That's huge. That means you're not dumping all of those chemicals into the environment.
From the grocery store in Boston, where you can purchase fresh box farms, to here in Millis, where the produce is actually grown inside these enclosures.
Year-round production. That's the first thing it offers. It doesn't matter what the weather is. We've basically removed weather from the equation. So it can be a snowy day, a rainy day, extremely cold, and we get production of the plants.
And is this a somewhat new farming technique? Is it just expanding? Is it becoming more popular where people are more sensitive to where their food is coming from?
It's new from the standpoint that it's what's called controlled environment agriculture, where every component, temperature, humidity, carbon dioxide levels, the nutrients dissolved in the water, it's all very tightly controlled. But it's not new from the standpoint of growing inside. For example, we've been growing in greenhouses for many hundreds of years now. So it's the combination of those two, and what's really made it possible is the emergence of LED lighting. That's the reason why you see those colors. And so you're not wasting energy producing wavelengths that the plant is not using. So there's a little bit of efficiency gain there. It's intensity and it's the coolness of those lights. So you can put a lot of light into a very small area and not have it overheat. Hydroponic growing is literally simply means the growth on water. So instead of soil, we pass water around the roots, and the nutrients for the plants are dissolved in the water. Every bit of the water that we use goes through the plant. This is called transpiration, plant transpiration, and that's how the mineral nutrients for the plants are pulled into the plant, is by this process of bringing water through the plant.
Where do you see this sector of agriculture going? Is it going to continue to grow significantly? Is this just the beginning of maybe a real turning point in how we get our food?
Yeah, our feeling is that it is a turning point. It's a very new industry, but there's a lot of technologies that are coming together. So it's going to be basically an enhanced quality of food, as well as just being able